President Biden and his cabinet are starting a 20-state campaign blitz today. The topic, the Biden economy. He's in Pennsylvania, and Georgia is where he'll be tomorrow. Team Biden is hoping for a boost in his approval rating. Fox News has his latest approval at only 42%, which is lower than the recent presidents had at this time. And voters in this approval poll say he's too old and not up to the job for president for another term. In fact, last night he was joking about it.
I know it may not look like it, but I've been around a while. When you get to be my age, certain things become clearer than ever.
Nobody's going to talk about cognitive impairment now.
I kind of wish sometimes there was cognitive impairment.
Op-eds are split on how Biden performed. One says there's life in the old boy yet, and another said he provided a burst of energy the country doesn't normally get to see. But others had a different take. The Democratic pep rally had not a single bipartisan grace note, and Biden chooses a hammer over an olive branch. Power panel now, Charlie Hurt, Fox News contributor and Washington Times opinion editor, and Mark Penn, CEO of Stagwell and former advisor to President Clinton. Great to see you both. And Mark, you recently wrote an op-ed laying out 3 things Biden did right and 3 things he got wrong. Talk about it. Mark, can you hear me? I don't think he has audio. All right, we'll come back to him. Does Charlie have audio? I'm going to ask the team because
I do have audio.
Okay.
And I can try to speak for Mark.
Actually, I'll ask you a separate question and let him talk about his own op-ed.
Okay.
So, last night the president was visibly fired up, visibly angry. And sometimes that's a gear you can go to that's a lot easier maybe than an olive branched and more nuanced type of behavior. I would imagine that was strategy.
Yeah, no, that's a great point, and I think you're exactly right about it. Obviously the State of the Union is usually an opportunity where you have millions and millions and millions of people who don't normally listen to you speak tuning in, and usually presidents use it as an opportunity to try to create, applause lines for people they don't necessarily agree with on everything. But you try to kind of bring them into the fold, and it's oftentimes when they're the most successful, what you do is you try to create these awkward situations where you force the people in the chamber that aren't on your side of the aisle to have to stand up and applaud for you. That's not what Joe Biden did last night. This was the most caustic, partisan, vicious, dark, backward-looking State of the Union address I've ever seen in my 25 years of covering politics. And I think you're exactly right. The point of it, the best I can figure, is he was trying to prove 2 things. He wanted to prove that he can make it to November. He can run a campaign, and he showed some tremendous vigor. I don't know what they gave him. I'd like a sip of whatever they gave him. But the second thing that he wanted to prove was we're going to fight, and we're going to fight. This is going to be a vicious dog fight, and we're going to fight tooth and nail. And if Republicans don't wake up and realize this is the tenor of the fight they're in for the next 8 months, then they're going to be in trouble.
Yeah, it's true. We had a couple of speeches we could watch last night. One was the rebuttal speech with Senator Katie Britt, and the other was RFK Jr. And they were very different speeches. And RFK Jr., of course, really hit the positive that you're talking about. I want everybody to just see a little bit of that.
We become a nation of chronic illness, of violence, of loneliness, depression, and division, and poverty. Our great cities are becoming tent encampments. Modern-day Hooverville is filled with undocumented immigrants and dispossessed Americans and people living in their cars. 80% of Americans say they don't want to be forced to choose in this election between the lesser of 2 evils. They're tired of voting against something or someone.
He said they want to vote for something, and they want somebody to tell them it's going to get better. Veteran political journalists have urged, do not ignore Robert F. Kennedy Jr. and his third-party presidential bid. I want to get both your takes. And Mark, I understand your audio is back now. Hopefully you can hear the sound of my voice again. What's your take on RFK Jr.? And first of all, have you seen that video?
I hadn't seen that video. I could see the direction that he was going. And you have to look at last night as the president took the direction that he was giving a Democratic convention speech. It wasn't a State of the Union at all, that he felt that he was so low that he had to rally his base, and rallying his base would be successful. And in contrast, Kennedy is going to say, I'm coming up the middle here. I don't see that as you, President Biden, that the country's in good shape. I see it as in bad shape,
Yes.
and in search of a new moderate solution. I think, this is an intelligent opening for Kennedy.
You know, it's interesting. It's like a reopening for him. He's been around 16 to 20% percentage all along. Now he starts to tick up. And I mentioned earlier on the program that he's reaching the horizon now, Charlie. I mean, if he gets on the ballot in battleground states, he could really be a problem for maybe not even one, but both these candidates.
Yeah. No, it's kind of hard to see, because he is such a renegade, it's kind of hard to see, who he is more problematic for. I think ultimately he ends up being far more problematic for Joe Biden, mainly because, obviously he's a Democrat, but bigger picture, he is an old school Democrat, a true liberal, the kind of Democrat that I think a lot of conservatives like myself would like to see the Democrat Party return to, because it was a sane party. It was a party that believed in clean water, and obviously nobody has a better record of fighting for clean water and clean air than RFK Jr. does. And it's a total contrast with the lunacy that we saw unfold on the floor of the House last night, where the Democrat Party has become the party of war. I mean, they leapt to their feet for talking about all this billions and billions of dollars of funding for Ukraine. And wherever you are on that, the need for that, it's a strange thing to see the entire Democrat, the half of the chamber, lustily applauding for spending $100 billion on a war overseas. It's kind of crazy. It's a big break from 20 years ago.
So, Mark, one of the things that people have said that I've spoken with who watched that video yesterday, and I could totally see their point, they felt seen and heard by RFK Jr. in a way that they did not feel seen by Joe Biden in his speech last night. We don't have a lot of time, but your thought.
Well, look, I think that's the big issue. Did Joe Biden connect with the average voter when he said that basically, he blamed the border on the Republicans, said crime was going down and the economy was good? But he hit all sorts of red meat economic issues, and he hit particularly well for women voters and Democratic voters. And he's saying that's all I need to win.
All right. I got to go, gentlemen. I'll bring you back on a different day. Great to see you. Have a wonderful weekend. Outnumbered after the break.
Hey, everyone. I'm Emily Campagno. Catch me and my co-hosts Harris Faulkner and Kaylee McEnany on Outnumbered every weekday at 12 p.m. Eastern, or set your DVR. Also, don't forget to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page for daily highlights.